Well, hello everyone. You hear show right here talk about for co-signers and basically what does it mean just to be able to co-sign or like have any type of witness for like privy pleas on a for anything about what you call co-signing. And if anybody warrants us to that you may have heard that before talk about for co-payment, your video talking about I posted you talk about co-payments, but what does it usually mean to have a co-signer? And I guess you say is to where basically means is to where that somebody that else that is willing to take care of something that really is. I guess if you want to call it like twist, like if you want to call it like maybe anything related to like partnership, or if it's anything about maybe a negotiation or agreement or something like that. And some of us that may think is to where, you're going to have it to where you're going to be talking to people that you may not know directly, and then that you at least after about maybe 30 minutes or so, you talk to them, and if they're going to be maybe working somewhere or working at a business, or if it's going to be anything about working at the school, that you're going to be talking to some of these people, and they could have families of their own. So I have drawn right here are some examples right here. If I right here have right here is me right here. If I were to be what's called reading a form and reading it over, and then I'm gonna have like say a group of people right here. I'm like between the guys and then the ladies right here. You have right here is a young boy, and then right here would be like say example right here of the father, and as well as the mom right here with her two daughters or something like that. And you have right here is a kid with the baby right here. So you have right here is a group of about maybe altogether about maybe 5 witnesses. I guess if you want to say is that, especially if it's going to be what you call that, some forms, if it's what you call trying to take care of a bill, or maybe thinking maybe related to a loan or something like that, that they say, or maybe like a trust fund. And I know that quite a few of those online applications, if it's going to be anything related to like any type of funds or college fund or trust funds or anything about that, maybe any other sources of forms especially, and they're going to ask you to have maybe a third or fourth person co-signer, or maybe if it's going to be about a witness, it's like somebody that sit there right next to you, and they actually witness with their own eyes, just to watch you as you're going to be signing something. So I know that anything that we're going to be working on, and you're like Warren Tor, what does it usually mean to co-sign? Just for co-signer, and some that may say is that basically means is towards somebody else that you know and trust, is like or that they are willing to help you out for what you got to do, especially. And so that's just a thing that we could probably think as to where that for a co-signer, that basically means is to where that you have other people who are going to be working with you on a team, like it's basically if you want to call like what you call teamwork, if you want to look at it as teamwork. But sometimes it's possible that, like with anybody, say for between the co-signer as well as if you would be signing something, it's like if it's going to be privately. And I know it's like you maybe anywhere at home, like especially if it's going to be insurance, that they ask you to sign a few forms, and you're going to sign, about maybe 3 or 4 or so papers that you sign, just for insurance or any type of agreement or anything like that, maybe related to school purposes or maybe job purposes or anything like that. So that's just the thing about with our signatures, especially about security ways of how to keep them protected as well. You have right here is a button, but example right there is like you have right here for 3D, for button right here. But you see right here is that so I talk about for pretty please. Anybody say that that I went and drew this picture is like if there was like what you call if this was right here was me, and if anybody warrants to it, what does it usually mean whenever people that whenever they fold their legs across, cross words to where that they that whenever they that they're going to be maybe nervous, or that they sit down, maybe just maybe to take I don't know if it's that maybe to take a test or exam, or maybe to sign a form, and so they have it to where that somebody invites about maybe 2 or 3 other people, just to kind of sit around and watch you, is like while this person is reading the forms, if you got any questions for them, that you answer them, and then they assist you for anything that you have a concern about related to what the form says. So I know with a lot of forms that even online that they may say is, well, I didn't write the form, so the only thing I can really help you with is like just kind of read it and okay, well go ahead and just put this or go and put that. But and then some of it could be related to maybe medical, insurance as well, medical records or anything that's on record that they may need to know about. But other than that, they say please making sure the information is true, and then all that other stuff you just about for the review, and then before you sign a date. So that's just the thing about is to where that with like any type of signature, though, like I mentioned before, is to where and not a toy, but just think about is to where that basically means is to where that yeah that any source of information that they need to collect just to make sure anything on record is to where that it's basically to where that if you want to look at it to where anything that you're going to be signing, and that even though the form is just in an envelope, well, that's really that it's in an envelope. It's not really what you call immediate attention until you read it, and then who else that could be what you call watching you and looking at you while you're working, and so that's just a thing that for a signature, any type of name signed, that basically means is to where it means quite a few things, and it doesn't just mean is to where that for identify any source of identification. When we read a form, that if you want to look at it, is to where that they really want to know about who was reading the form, and in order to be able to tell, more likely it could be is to where by the handwriting. And I know, like with anybody, that nowadays, even with that electronic stuff, that they're going to have it to where they may have access to the profile, and they be able to have any other source of identification as well. But you have right here for pretty please. So if anybody say, yeah, that have right here is an example right here of me, and if there will be what you call by a witness right here, and then maybe a group of other people, and so these right here could be what you call people that know my work somehow, and that they were asked to just kind of sit there and watch me as like if I were to be working with somebody else and reading the forms and signing it, if it's anything about school related or anything like that. This right here could be what you call an example right here of the children of they're about maybe about 2 or 3 right here, and you have right here the 2 kids right here. So you're going to have some younger ones and some older ones right here. And you have right here some younger ones right here. And if anybody wanted to, or why would younger ones even be in the picture? And I use that as like to where if anybody say that, yeah, that a few reasons, not just because it's like if they can't really find anybody to watch the kids, while they're taking care of something here, they were invited, or if anything, to just say, well, just kind of sit around and just to kind of get yourself an idea about how this works, because if anybody wants as to where how does electronic signature work, those who don't, it more likely that could get introduced to the person who does, and so that's just a thing is to where if you want to look at as to where these witnesses that could be what you call maybe a little, the audience. You're going to have about 3 people back here. They're like saying is like that, yeah, that for this person, Matthew, it's like what he has to do is just sit down here and just look at the forms, and this person right here will be reading it if he has any questions about. Other than that, about 3 forms that I need to sign, and you have right here the witnesses. Witnesses right here. And so that's just a thing about if anybody say that yeah, you meet up with this person, and then you witness them signing something, and after about maybe 5 years later, and then it's like, well, you remember you were there, yeah, you witnessed me signing this or signing that, or anything about what you call it. This is that's how it works. You were there, you were you were standing there with a group of 2 or 3 other of your family members or so, and you watched me as I sign this or sign that. So that's just a thing about with like for like Go Green though, it's like for knowing about who's responsible for taking care of this or that, but then on your hand too, talk about for e-sign. And I have these right here to where if you say, yeah, what does it usually mean to have like for the purple sign, e-sign for purple and e-sign for red, and like e-sign for green, and it could maybe be e-sign for yellow. So that's just the thing we hear about a lot of times about that go green, but then sometimes say, yeah, what does it usually mean to go purple or to go red? What does it usually mean to go red? And does that mean like attention please, or does that mean as to where that yeah, well there's something going on with the profile. The profile's that the profile is infected, and it needs a band-aid or some sort. So if anybody were to where that, yeah, that anything that these, they could also maybe represent warning signs or maybe concerning signs. So if you say, yeah, if you're going to have maybe email, and then you have right here all these that may say the same thing, but they're just what you call styled a little bit different, and you have different colors right here. But this right here will be example right here of, like, say, my e-sign right here. So if anybody wants to where that, yeah, they have right here's a button right here, and just the e-sign, something that basically means is to where that, yeah, that pen and paper right here, and sign and date, something that they say is toward not just a push of a button, but then copy and paste it into what you call, like, for you to have authorization just to be able to do this. Whenever you sign on, or whenever you get that what you call that email or so, get that signed on, and then you download a file, just to be able to sign something. So I know a lot of stuff, which I can maybe think of a number of ideas, but just to kind of make this activity just a little bit shorter, and within about the 15 minutes or so, just to kind of give everybody, a few of us ideas about a little bit about what I'm talking about, as to where, for like any type of reminder. So if we're going to have a group of people right here, including the baby, and as well as maybe some kids right here, that they actually watch you as you're reading and signing the forms, and knowing about that deal, what it's about, and then just anything about updates on their records, especially following the taxes, or any other sorts of data that they would need to collect from me, especially. And so that's just the thing about, especially graduation. After students, a lot of times after you graduate, that they say is to where, if you're going to be, especially if you're going to be younger than the age of of 17, maybe if you're only going to be 15, 14, or 15 years old, then they would suggest you would need to have a cosigner. If you're going to be younger than the age of 18, then they would ask as to where there needs to be an adult present. Adult present, and maybe 3 or 4 other witnesses, especially. So that's just the thing about it, is to where that if anybody warns us to where, besides any type of marital license, or if it's going to be anything about any other type of license, or maybe co-signers based on information. And I know, especially on the tax forms, I can tell anybody here that sometimes that the Department of Treasury, that they say is to where that you may not get your refund check right away if you did not sign that form. I'm like, we may think, oh, come on, it's a real big deal. I'm like, well, I got the math right, didn't I? Like, and the forms were mailed back to you because you did not sign. And so that's just the thing, though, is to where if we get the math right, or if we don't get the math right, especially on a bill, that what the signature basically mean, and for like any type of cosign. And I guess that basically means is to where, like, a person. And if we want to look at this between person, place, or thing, that the thing would more likely be is toward the device that you were using, and then the place for where you were located at, what office where you're located, and as well as the person. So whenever we think about this right here, is to where the person who signed it, and so that they say is to where, yeah, we already know the place, and then we already know it's like more likely about maybe what thing that you were using, if it's going to be with this electronic device, but there is no signature visible on the form. So we're just wondering about that, and say, well, you know who I am. I'm like, why, like, well, but still, some of us may wonder to where that why is it that sign and date is required to be located in other areas of an application, especially if you get hired on a job, or applying for something, or maybe for like cosigner. And so a lot of this information that more likely would be required for, like, say, anybody who's younger than the age of 18, especially if you're co-signing for a child or so, that you're going to have a co-signer that's going to be willing to just like to say that that they are willing to help you and guide you for what you got to do, for anything about what you call support. And I guess if you want to know, it's like for support, but these right here are some ideas right here for like e-signing. You have right here is this little, if you want to call it like the shape square right here, like a 3D shape, and you talk about for the button right here. So this right here would be example right here of electronic signature. And for everybody, say, for a reminder, and that's just the thing about 4 years later, that people are likely learn to where that this right here could be maybe be a kind of example of what's called like a manual, like an instruction manual, to where maybe not everybody in the world or anybody in the United States who maybe knows how to work the systems like this, is to where that knows exactly about how to work it, and so that they kind of what you call that if they ask to be the witnesses of what you call of maybe me, or if it's going to be anybody else that ask you to sit here, and then they're going to have somebody else sitting here, and you're going to have these eyewitnesses right here in the background. And it's basically to where that, yeah, they're going to have kids, and you're like Warren, to where that you meet these people, you may not met them before, and sometimes it's like, okay, nice to meet you, but what brings you here? Okay, whoever you are, okay, well, if you're not related to me, then well, why were you invited to come? And like this, so it seems like that's kind of like what you call a long story short. So if anybody say that, yeah, that you show up to meet up with somebody, or maybe to sign something, maybe online and maybe over Skype or anything like that, and then they say it's to where that hey, nice to meet you, yeah, that after you sign the form, like, or that after you receive the form and just look it over, but still that you say that, yeah, that we just kind of want to just to kind of know you a little bit more, and like, well, I think you may know a little bit more about my work compared to what you know about me, but still, that you say that, yeah, really, what has all these other people, what have all they learned about me, especially other than it's to where they're looking at me while I'm reading the paperwork, and then I sign some, just like you may have seen that before about maybe watching the president, or maybe any governor or so. For like anything about for Congress, that you seen them on TV maybe signing a form about maybe for anything related to like maybe a rule or law about for anything that's going on for security purposes as well. So that's just the thing about what you call for witnesses, that some people out there, about maybe 50% of them, that may had no idea about how this electronic sign works basically, and anything that maybe that for like for a new system that came out. So they say is to where that they picked you, they may pick me just to use this new service, and so you're going to have maybe people there that may be kind of curious and just want to watch. Watch is like not really about his tour, that yeah, for whoever that did whatever, whoever that did something wrong or some sort, but just to kind of get them an idea about his tour. It just like, hey, just stand around and just kind of you watch Matthew as what you call as this person that's going to be reading the papers off to him. So that's just a thing sometimes is to where that whenever people show up for a meeting, especially, and they have to sign something, or that they're asked to sign something, like, pretty please be my co-signer or be my witness, and you look at that, you watch as I work with this other person, or if I got any questions about something. So they may ask a few witnesses to be there, and especially with their children, that people that may have families of their own, and just to kind of allow the children to kind of be in there in the room and watch as like for what's going on, especially. So I know that like with anybody like me that would be what you call getting all nervous and shy about, which they that just think about is to where that there's more people in the room besides me, myself, and as well as this other person right here. She could maybe be maybe a counselor, or just somebody that I was working with or so, or that you just that they were what you call these people that working if it was a case or anything like that. But have these people right here that are going to be witnessing for what's going on. So that's just the thing about for like signatures, though, is that I guess you could probably say is toward it. Back whenever I was in school, that seemed like to where whenever you take a test, that it's kind of embarrassing, and just think about after you fail the test, and then think about what you're going to tell the audiences, huh? You have that real disappointing look on on you, and then but then on your hand, that this way you think about is to where that you just put it this way is to where you study, and you study real good, more likely the chances are that you'll do just fine. But then if you don't do very well, then just explain, I'm like, for what went on, and you'll go and try to do better next time, and you'll just need to study more. But still, that you're having eyewitnesses in the background, and especially that if you may not have met them before. You just met them only that one time while you were there, and you're like worrying to where that it's kind of makes you a little bit nervous and thinking about it toward it. It takes about maybe 25 minutes or so just to read over the forms, especially if you're just trying to understand about what you got to do with the e-signing as well. So there may be a number of reasons to why people ask us to, or maybe to have a witness around or co-sign, or somebody who's going to be willing to co-sign for you about taking care of something. If it's going to be buying a car or anything like that, that for extra security purposes. So I know that more likely there will be a number of reasons to why that your signature will be sign and date will be required, especially online, especially. But that's just a thing, though, is to where something to remember by. And those who don't know how to use the service, and I guess we're going to say is to where they just kind of look at this as like what you call like a study guide, like a manual. That if anybody say that what's the chances are as to where maybe I'll get picked to be able to show others about this new technology. Like I say, are you familiar with this new device right here that they ask you to sign here to be able to receive a package? And like if anybody say that, yeah, somebody at least 18 years old or older is going to need to receive a package. They got package delivery, and you're like Warren to her that really that people there that are going to maybe be curious about, well, the package. Well, that this person has to sign it, but then there's going to maybe be about maybe 10 witnesses there that are going to see what was going on. And sometimes it's like, that besides a package, it could maybe be what you call maybe the grade book. And so that's just a thing. There may be a number of concerns of the matter about what you call for e-signing, that for other people that may just be what you call concern about how it works, and in order to be able to know how it works, and then they may say is to where that if you don't mind, I would like to sit in the room with you and just kind of watch you as and then you just kind of listen up to for what's going on, and any question, if it's going to be just what you call these two, if it's just going to maybe be me, just looking at the papers, and this person right here, and you're going to have like a group of audience right here, and they say, well, if you don't mind, that there's these people right here are going to be the witnesses. They'll be, they'll be, you promise to be, to remain silent, to be quiet, and just to kind of what you call listen up, and then watch you as you work. And so that's just a thing that anybody that may want to, or especially it seems like a lot of it, maybe a little bit like that the third or fourth grade play, especially. You're going to have a group of audiences, maybe about 170 or so people in the audience that are just going to be watching you as you dress up, maybe for the Halloween event or anything like that, and you're like wearing tour for how well did you do, and the audiences are going to be pretty quiet for the first 30 minutes until that it comes up to you're wrapping up the play at the end, and it's like for anybody to say that it's like and knowing about the live or anything like that about happily ever after, or if it's going to be type of a remaining love story or anything like that, and you're like Warren to her that and then that they begin to clap or something. So that's just a thing that for knowing about how to impress our audience, and for how to impress our audience, that you're like Warren to her that one of those would be to her maybe just to kind of teach them something. Teach them about new technology. New technology, and how this works and how that works, and maybe anything about for anything that they may be curious about later on. So this is how that works. Okay, well, if you want to give it a try sometime, it's like you'll feel free to try it. So anything that they more likely would announce nowadays on the webs, on the website, you go to this website, and so they may ask is toward that to pick this person, to pick Matthew to go ahead and say if he's pretty confident with using this stuff, and some some people out there with the witnesses that may not know too much about it, and so they just kind of ask if you don't mind that this is my son, this is my daughter, they would like to sit in the room right here and watch you work as you sign. And so that's just a thing that people I say about top up for co-signers. And but anyway, but you have right there is like, for yellow, I have right here is with me right here. This was right here was my son's signature right here. Sign date, you have right here's a button. It's like, for you say, but signatures are converted to digital, or so digital sign for the button right there. It's like for copy and paste, just to be able to use that in a proper manner as well. But for knowing about for who's responsible and say that yeah that for any type of responsibility that they say is to that yeah that seems like almost anything that they say you are responsible to take care of this or that for go green. But go green, and they say yeah, what does it usually mean to go yellow? And I guess if you want to call that is to where that go yellow may mean is to where that receive text messages. Text messages, and I guess if you want to look at it as to where that go yellow, if we want to use go yellow as example for like please use text messaging, or if you want to have any source of communication by Skype or by Facebook Messenger, that's up to you. That's optional. But other than that, go green basically means is to where a lot of the documents will be sent to you, be available online. But anyway, for 24 hours, I guess you say it could be available 24 hours. And if anybody say that yeah, compared to doing this at home at your own private computer, compared to maybe other people and anybody that wanted to. I really don't even know if there's other people that maybe a few dozen of them that could be listen to me and want to know. It's like oh okay, well this is what I know. This is how this is how I know. This is how this works, and that's I'm assuming that this is how that works. And anybody that may want to, or yeah, well we're just listening to you. We're just what you call just sitting here and listen to you while you're talking, and so that's just a thing is to where that I keep thinking is to where anything that more likely I'm talking about. People may say I don't know what you're talking about, or something may say we know what you're talking about. Please proceed. You know, uh, please move. It's like a proceed. Go and continue with what you were talking about. So anyway, but say for like friendly reminder, if anybody wanted to, where yeah, that they may ask as to where just kind of understanding about how technology works, and they may ask, well, do you mind if I keep this for a reminder? But still, I would ask anybody. It's like really, just for anything such as security measures, for like signing data as well as anything that's confidential. It's like anybody's information. Please respect the information as well. But anyway, but talk about for anything about what you call information about me and for like my career as a designer that I'm sure anybody probably say that they're thinking about is we're extremely curious about what you could be doing in the next 6 months to a year from now or so. But talk about safe, keep that in reminder as well. But anyway, for safe for point possibilities as well. But other than that, Manic 25, Method 31. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.